This episode of Creep Street Podcast is brought to you by Martini Coffee Roasters. Martini Coffee Roasters is not a martini-flavored coffee. In fact, it is a family-owned and operated company run by the Martini family. And while I'm sure they enjoy a good cocktail, they are all about that high-quality, smooth, flavorful coffee. Unlike many other roasters, Martini Coffee Roasters roast manually using a traditional method of roasting, most relying on sight and sound to ensure the best results, okay? This is quality, people. This is artisanal. This is handmade. This is what you're wanting. And not only that, but they also sell green coffee beans for those home roasters out there. So please support small businesses and check out Martini Coffee Roasters at martinicoffee.com. Once again, check out Martini Coffee Roasters at martinicoffee.com.
You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, this is Maureen Bogey.
And I'm Dylan Hackworth.
And you are listening to the Creep Street Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to go on a crazy ride, but before we do, we need to talk about a couple things. One, we are on Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod.
Yes.
We are on Facebook, and on Facebook we also have kind of like a subgroup called Citizens of the Milky Way. This is a smaller group that anyone can join where Dylan and I post more often, and anyone can kind of post fun articles or funny memes or,
blast.
Any kind of, just a little squad within
It's great.
the greater squad.
It's a great way to get to know each other.
So feel free to just head on over to our Facebook page, request to be added to Citizens of the Milky Way, and we will add you in. We also have a lovely Patreon. And speaking of our Patreon, Dylan, will you please list off the holy names of our top tier Patreon donors, the elite, the creme de la creme?
Prepare thine ears for the dream, James Watkins. The Finnish face via Alongfist. The madman Marcus Hall, the vivacious Vicky McHugh, the tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the heartbreak kid Chris Hackworth, the oh-so-suave Sean Richardson, the British bone breaker Bex Martin, the notorious Nicholas Barker, the terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, and the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer.
What a powerful list. Thank you so much, Dylan, for reading off those names. If you're interested in supporting us on Patreon for some more Creep Street bonus content, feel free to check us out at patreon.com/Creep Street Podcast.
That's right. And right in our Instagram, there's even our link tree. It'll take you right to our Patreon. If you want to, if you're thirsty for extra, because we give you all sorts of juicy extra bits, head on over to Patreon. Before we get to today's episode, there's a few things I want to talk about. One, next week, our episode, we're going to go ahead and tell you now, because it's a big one.
It is.
Maureen has been preparing our H.H. Holmes episode, which will be next Friday.
That's right. Chicago's very own H.H. Holmes. We're going to go there. We're going there. It's going to be a big episode, and we're so excited.
I think that's the 29th, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And also, in March, it will be the 1-year anniversary of our launch. We launched on March 20th of 2020.
Yep.
On Friday, March 19th, we are going to do our 1-year anniversary episode, and it is going to be on Shadow People 2.
That's right.
The Hat Man. Going back to our original first episode, now we found out a lot of our listeners have had personal experiences with Shadow People, and particularly the Hat Man.
Shout out to a few people that have reached out. Hannah Jarvis Tomlinson, thank you so much.
Yes.
We got yours. We're going to add you to the episode. But anyone else's stories or encounters or experiences, we would love to hear them.
Absolutely. Let's get those in now.
That's right.
Oh, boy. We've got a murder to solve.
Wait, we have, oh my God. Why didn't we start with that then?
Today's episode is one of the most bizarre, unsolved murder mysteries I've ever heard of.
Oh, I love these. These are fun because you know, it's kind of like a little fucking, what's it called? Riddle.
Yeah.
That's not a hard word to remember, but it was for me.
Today, our episode is Murder in room 1046. Let me just real quick cite my sources.
Please.
For my sources, I used The Mystery of Room 1046 by E.B. Johnson at medium.com, as well as A Bizarre Death and the Mysterious Room 1046 by Brent Swanser at mysteriousuniverse.com. This is one of those murder mysteries. This is like Somerton Man, Netafernario mixed in with like the Miyazawa family.
Right.
With the Hinterkai fact. It's weird.
Maybe Elisa Lam?
Maybe Elisa, it's, a little bit of that too, because it's hotel-based.
Hotel crime.
This is freaky. When you're reading about this story, it seems too good to not be fiction.
Right.
It just makes, there's so many twists and turns, it's like an Agatha Christie novel or something.
Right. Yes, it is.
So let's not hold back anymore.
Okay.
I've got a little bourbon. If you hear the little tinkle of ice on glass while I'm recording, that's because your boy isn't enjoying himself a nice cold glass of bourbon on the rocks, baby.
And if you hear a little bit of a twinkle on those keys, baby, that's not me.
So let's set the scene for today's episode. We're going to jump all the way back to January 1935. And the place? The Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, Kansas City. We got some favorites.
That's
the
right.
Tomlinson crew
of
among
course.
them.
Once again, shout out to Zach and Hannah, friends of ours and listeners of this show, living down in KC.
Yes.
Heads up also, in this story, it involves a lot of aliases, people going by multiple names. I'm going to make sure I do my best that when I'm saying a name, I'm making clear who I'm talking about.
Okay.
So our story begins on a cold afternoon on January 2nd, 1935, Kansas City, Missouri. And the year was brand new, literally 2 days into 1935.
Oh, okay.
And on this afternoon, a tall and dapper-dressed man walked into the lobby of the Hotel President in Kansas City. Now, because of this man's considerable height and build, he was the type to catch people's eye when he'd enter into a room. He stuck out not just because of his size, but also because he had a large scar across his face.
Wow.
As well as cauliflower ears. So,
wow, this is like real classic, like spooky guy stuff.
So we have to assume probably a boxer, wrestler, or something like that.
Yeah.
So the man approaches the front desk, and he had a room booked for that night. More specifically, the man requested an interior room that did not face the street outside. He paid for his room in full up front with cash, signing with the name Roland T. Owen. He gave a Los Angeles address for his place of origin, and the bellboy, a gentleman named Randolph Propst, came to assist Mr. Owens to his room 1046.
Fuck. I was hoping you were going to say room 69 or something.
Yeah. Oh, no. 1046.
God damn it.
Now, the bellboy, he noticed something strange right away, and that was that the guest had no luggage with them at all.
Oh, yeah, weird.
But, certainly not the strangest thing you'd see in a hotel, obviously,
yeah.
But just thought that was weird. So they get to room 1046, and Propst opens it up for the guest, and both of them go inside. And the bellboy watches as Mr. Owen empties the contents of his coat pockets onto the bathroom counter. And these included a comb, a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a hairbrush. Then both men left the room. The bellboy handed Mr. Owen his key. Owen thanked him and then left the hotel to run some errands. So nothing too strange as of yet. Just the guy doesn't have luggage with him. Which that's, we've done that because we've had to do, when we were back before the world imploded, when we were doing like, corporate shows and stuff. We would have to sometimes fly. I had to fly cross country and then literally fly back the next morning. And I barely would take, I literally would take the suit I would wear in the show.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's not too weird.
So you never know.
Some time passes. It's later in the day. And a hotel maid named Mary Sponick, she was making her rounds, tidying up the rooms, and she entered room 1046 to give it the usual refreshing. She walked in to find the room almost entirely dark. The shades had all been drawn, and the only illumination was the dim light from a single lamp in one part of the room. And Mr. Owen was sitting there, seemingly deep in thought.
Oh, God. He was there?
He was there.
Oh, and that weirdly... oh, God.
Just sitting silently, deep in thought, had a kind of an anxious look on his face. And when he saw Mary enter the room, he quickly stood up, composed himself, and he went to exit the room. But before he did, he asked that Mary leave the door open, as he was expecting a friend to stop by later. Now, the source claims that he was very stern about this and reiterated it many times, so he really wanted the door left open. So,
yeah, weird that he made a big deal out of that when it's like,
right.
can't you just keep it open?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mary assures the gentleman that she would do just that. So he leaves the hotel, again, for some unknown reason. Mary just shrugs it off, does her usual sprucing up, and moves along. Later that day, though, Mary would return to 1046 at around 4 p.m. to restock with fresh towels. When she entered the room, though, she was startled to find Mr. Owen laying silently, fully clothed, looking up at the ceiling above him with sort of a grim expression.
Oh, God.
What's even stranger is Owen didn't even flinch. He in no way even acknowledged that Mary had entered the room. He was alive, he was breathing,
Right.
It wasn't like he was dead, and he wasn't asleep either, but he just continued to look up at the ceiling.
Yeah, this man is hardcore depressed.
Mary figured, well, now wasn't a good time, so she
Yeah.
went to leave the room, but before she did, she noticed a note had been left on the room's desk, and it read,
Don, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait.
Mary then quickly and quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. She figured she'd just return in the morning with the towels.
Yeah, like, okay, so I need to...
Okay.
Mary had some good instincts there to get the F
so
out of there.
we're starting to notice some strange behavior with this guy.
Yeah.
So the morning comes around. It's now January 3rd. So Mary heads up to 1046 to find it locked. But here's the weird thing. The door was locked from the outside,
Okay.
meaning Roland Owen was locked in. She could easily enter the room,
Right.
but it was locked from the outside.
Or he's not in there.
Right.
And, like, he left and, locked the door as he left,
So she unlocks it with a pass key and enters the room. The shades are still drawn, and the only light is still that one lamp. And Mr. Owen is there, sitting in the dim light on a phone call. When he saw Mary, he waved her over, and Mary noted right away that Mr. Owen seemed weird.
Okay, I think he's always seemed
Yeah.
weird to,
Obviously.
if I'm going to be honest with you here, Mary, but...
He seemed very uncomfortable, and Mary was able to overhear some of the phone conversation. She didn't know who he was speaking to, but she was certain it was a man, and she overheard Mr. Owen saying this.
No, Don, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast. No, I am not hungry.
Mary quickly did her cleaning, restocked the towels, and got the hell out of there.
Yeah, okay, was he... okay, I'm
So it
just
sounds
so
like he's having a
confused.
heated, so we're maybe he's running from someone. It seems okay.
But he's
It
also
seems
being
weird.
kind of a bit of a, he's kind of being a little bit of a brat, being like, no, Mom,
Right,
Mom.
And why was that door locked with him inside? That's
already ate
weird.
breakfast.
And he was inside.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seemingly unconcerned that it was locked. Like when she opened it, he didn't go, oh, thank God, finally. It wasn't like he had been like...
Maybe he did, I don't, yeah, this is...
Weird,
this
right?
Is, I mean, nothing's really making sense.
So later on that day, in the afternoon, Mary would return to room 1046 while making her evening rounds. This time, things got even weirder. As she approached the door, Mary could hear the sound of two male voices coming from within the room. She didn't want to bother them, but she gently knocked and asked through the door if, they needed anything like fresh towels. She was abruptly answered by a gruff and angry voice who told her they didn't need anything and to just go away.
Oh, yeah.
Sounding heated.
People don't say that. People don't. That's one of those things that I think comes across in movies where sometimes if someone's just an asshole, they'll speak that way. But even an asshole wouldn't say it like that.
Exactly.
Like there's a situation going on. There's a little bit of a heightened little aggression going on here. Clearly something, and it wasn't his voice. It wasn't, what's his name? It wasn't...
Mr. Owen.
Right, so it wasn't Mr. Owen's voice. It was someone else. Okay.
So a few hours go by, and it's now 1 a.m. on January 4th, okay? So it's middle of the night, it's 1 a.m.
Bases loaded.
Top of the ninth. Something weird was now going on in room 1046. Guests staying in the nearby rooms reported the sounds of a heated argument between multiple people, more than two.
Oh.
At least three, and they claimed to hear what was the sound of a scuffle, so like a physical altercation.
Right, yeah.
But more than two people.
Weird. Okay. So maybe someone snuck in through a window. Maybe someone was there the whole time hiding. Maybe maybe somehow, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
A few hours go by, so it's now at 7 a.m. And the hotel's new telephone operator, a gal named Della Ferguson, was reporting to work. And one of the first things she noticed was that the phone in room 1046 was off the hook.
Okay. Weird.
Naturally, they send up a bellboy to, politely ask that the guest, put it back on the hook.
Right.
So the bellboy they sent up was the same from the night before, Mr. Robert Probst. So the one from before. So they sent him up. When he arrived at the room, it was shut. So he gave it a knock. And from the inside, he heard a man's voice tell him to come in and turn on the lights.
Okay.
But when the bellboy went to open the door, it was locked. So he knocked again and said, "Hi, sorry, the door's actually locked. Can you lock it?" No response. So he knocks. Knock, 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 knock. "Excuse me, it's locked." No response. He initially had a response. Someone said, "Come on in, turn on the lights."
Someone is in there.
But apparently that someone also didn't want to get up to unlock the door.
Or say anything else.
So after a while, he gets frustrated. He just walks away and he shouts, "Hang up the phone," essentially.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's so frustrating.
It's weird.
So it's scary.
It's
and
freaky.
Spooky, but from this guy's perspective, I get it too. Where he's just like annoyed as hell. He's like, "I know you're in there. You just are like you're just fucking with me, or you're just being an ass."
The weirdest part too is it's not the "come on in," it's "turn on the lights." Come on in and turn on the lights, but then no one responds after that.
Yeah, that's very strange. That's so weird. But
how freaky is that?
Yeah, I don't like. Oh my god,
it's about to get weirder, friends.
I mean, yeah, I have spent, like Dylan said, pre-COVID times, a lot of time in hotels, from touring and stuff, and I would never in my wildest dreams say these kinds of things, and not even in that's so negative, but like that's such a big thing to be like, yeah, come on in and turn on the lights. It's like you were just weird. In there in the dark. Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, whoever was in there didn't get the message, because the phone was never put back on the hook. So now it's 8:30 a.m. and they send up another bellboy.
Yeah, they're getting pissed.
Right. They send up another bellboy. This time it's a gentleman named Harold Pike. They send him up to room 1046. He knocks several minutes, doesn't get a response, so he just lets himself in with a pass key to see what the hell's going on.
Right, like enough is enough here.
Once inside, he finds Mr. Owen laying on his bed in the dark, completely naked. The telephone, of course, just lying there on the floor. The bellboy was like, okay, this asshole's just hung over.
Oh, God.
Right? So he just picks up the phone, sets it back where it's supposed to be, and just leaves the room. So
he just leaves?
Just leaves the room. He just assumes this guy's like comatose because he's hung over his shit.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Barely an hour later, the operator saw that the phone in room 1046 had once again been taken off the hook.
No, stop. That's making my whole heart like,
Isn't
drop.
that weird?
Then my eyelids. Oh, God. That's so freaky.
It's almost like a game.
Yes. Someone's trying to get their attention.
People to come to the room.
They're like, fuck, it didn't work. They're like, they saw this naked man in the bed and it wasn't enough. Okay, so do it again. I don't know.
Once again, a bellboy sent up to take care of the situation, and once again it was Probst, the first one. So as he got to the door, though, this time, the do not disturb sign had been placed on the outside doorknob.
Oh, shit. Yeah, they're trying to be all, oh, God.
So he immediately starts knocking on the door, and when there's no response, he uses his pass key to let himself in.
Yeah, he's like, come on.
So keep in mind, it's not even been an hour since the other bellboy went up and found him naked there. Once inside, the bellboy found Mr. Owen hunched over the floor, holding his head in his hands. There were puddles of blood on the walls and the bed. And startled, the bellboy ran from the room and alerted authorities.
Oh my God.
So in that that less than an hour this happened, not that that's not a lot, that's plenty of time for this to happen. But it's like, what changed? And what was with the...
And who got in and how did this happen?
Exactly.
That's so scary.
How freaky is that?
And it's because they were just in there, too. You know what I mean?
Just in there.
And you would think that maybe someone else would have heard something or, I don't know. Weird.
The police come, and they enter room 1046, and it was obvious that Mr. Owen was in bad shape. Okay. He'd been stabbed repeatedly in the chest with a knife, and his skull had been fractured, as if he had been severely beaten. On top of that, there were bruises on his neck, wrists, and ankles, seeming to indicate that he had been tied up and tortured.
What?
The man was barely conscious when the police tried to talk to him and get him to tell them what happened, but Mr. Owen just said that he'd slipped in the bathtub. It was an accident.
God.
And that he was fine. And keep in mind, he's barely conscious, but he's going, don't worry about it. I slipped. It's cool.
Yeah, okay.
He even made a point to say, no one attacked me. It was an accident.
Okay, I have some ideas. I'll hold off. Okay.
He then slipped, and we'll chat right now, because he then slipped into a coma, and later on at the hospital, he died.
Well, I mean, is this maybe some sort of mob activity or some sort of...
That's
maybe
a big theory.
He owed a debt, maybe kind of thing he knew.
That's a big theory.
That's what I'm kind of thinking.
Maybe even if he wasn't mob, maybe he was a prize fighter of some kind, and maybe he got caught. That's a thought, but we're going to address that in just a minute.
Okay.
So the police, they comb over this room like crazy, and they did find some strange shit. For one thing, there were no clothes found in the room whatsoever, including the ones he'd been wearing. So let's think about that. We obviously already knew he didn't bring any luggage.
But even the clothes he came in wearing weren't there?
They were also gone.
Wow. So someone had to have taken them, or he had to have left and come back in naked.
On top of all that, all the towels and toiletries that Mary had brought to the room, all of those were also gone.
Yeah, this sounds, like some fucking loser thought to, multitask and fucking do their target run while they were doing their hit, and so they took some towels and some,
right,
mini
like
shampoos.
It's a fucking Crate and Barrel or some shit. So here's the thing. There was a considerable amount of blood, as we know, on the walls, floor, and bed, which to me makes the towel thing even weirder. At first I was like, okay, they took the towel, maybe they did the thing, and then they used the towels to like mop up the blood, and they took the towels and everything, for evidence. But clearly no cleaning was done.
No, right.
Then what's the purpose of taking towels? The only thing I can think of was maybe it was like some sort of a shame thing. So let's say they did this to him, say he survives. To get help, he's going to have to walk somewhere naked. He couldn't even have a towel to wrap him. Maybe it was something like that, like some sort of a shame thing. Like, well, now if you need to get help, you got to go fucking naked, asshole, or something like that. Couldn't even wear a towel. That's the only thing I can think of. On the lampshade, they found 4 fingerprints that police believe belonged to a woman.
Okay.
There was also found 2 water glasses, one of which was missing a large, jagged shard of glass, and the other was undisturbed.
The jagged piece of glass makes sense.
Right.
The fingertips on the lampshade could be something, but also it's a hotel room. You know what I mean? Like, people are in and out of there all the time.
Exactly.
And I can't imagine they're like, I'm sure Mary was doing a great job, but was she wiping down the lampshades every day? I don't know about that.
Also found was an unlit cigarette and a small, unopened bottle of sulfuric acid.
Oh.
Other than that, the room was completely empty. The curtains had not been opened a single time since the guest had arrived. The police were stumped, so not only was there no clues pointing in the direction of who may have been responsible for this, they couldn't even really figure out what happened.
Yeah,
they couldn't tell if it didn't even add up that this was a suicide. Like, how did these people come and go in that less than an hour and torture this man? But at the same time, if it was suicide, why would he have all those?
Yeah, the suicide doesn't make sense to me. The injuries don't line up with a suicide.
It's weird.
What a odd case. And like really leaning towards this, like maybe like time slip or dimensional
Was this
slip
some sort
or
of
something.
Right, it's about to get fucking weird.
Okay, pop off.
It wasn't long before they discovered that the guest's real name was not Roland T. Owens.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I'm going to be honest with you there.
It was an alias. In fact, he had booked several other rooms at hotels across Kansas City in recent days, all of them by different names.
Yeah, cash opens up a lot of doors for you.
One witness even said they saw the man in the days before walking with another unidentified man, but that wasn't it. Several strange tips would come in to the police office. A local city employee named Robert Lane approached authorities with info that he claimed to have on the man's identity. He said that he met this guy on the night he originally checked into the hotel, so that would have been January 2nd.
Okay.
Robert Lane, this guy, said that this mystery man had apparently mistaken him as a taxi driver. He was sitting in his car, and for whatever reason, guy thought he was a taxi driver.
Yeah, I did that one time, but instead thought I was getting into my mom's backseat, but I got into someone else's backseat.
Well, but that wasn't it. As the stranger approached, Lane, he realized he was only wearing underwear and a t-shirt.
What?
And remember, it's January. And even in Kansas City, it's fucking cold.
Yeah,
in January.
no.
It's
also,
cold.
just in general, that's,
Right, even if it was hot, you don't wear underpants and you don't, yeah.
Sorry, we're not a carnival cruise.
Now, when Lane told the guy his car wasn't a taxi, the stranger just asked him maybe where he could get a taxi. And Lane also noticed a bloody wound on this guy's arm.
Yeah.
And when he asked him about it, the stranger just sort of mumbled something about getting revenge on someone, and then he just sort of wandered away into the night. Chat break.
Okay, yeah.
So right now you think, okay, well, this guy's clearly got substance abuse issues. Like, he's losing his clothes. I'm assuming, they don't overtly say it, but I'm assuming when he approached Robert Lane, I'm assuming he appeared to be intoxicated some way.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he was like, excuse me, sir, are you a taxi?
Yeah.
And he's wearing his underwear.
Or he would be like, hey, I'm wearing my underwear. I need your help.
Right, I need your help. Let me explain.
Someone stole my
robbed
clothes.
or something. So
instead he's just like, take me to the boulevard. And
right.
he's like, I don't. What?
Right. We can assume this dude's fucking.
He is the walrus cuckoo cuckoo.
I'm going to assume that.
Also strange that he just kind of mumbled something about getting revenge. That now, because before I was leaning more towards like maybe he owed someone money or something like that. Now it's like, oh, the revenge kind of idea. Maybe money is, involved, but maybe it's a little bit more personal than that. It's a little bit more of a back and forth, a little bit more passion to it. It's not just business.
Tips also came in from various.
I gotta say, I do keep thinking you're saying tits.
Get ready for a sweet pair of tips.
Yeah.
So tips come in from various bartenders around the city, saying that the stranger had visited their bars often in the company of several different women.
Do not sleep on bartenders, you guys.
Another tip that the source mentions, and this could possibly be nothing, but it's worth mentioning. An elevator operator there at the hotel president said that on that night he saw a woman wandering around outside the hotel. Now, he had no way of knowing, but he made the assumption that she was probably a prostitute. I don't know if judging by just her, I don't know. But he just made the assumption. She asked about someone who was staying in room 1026. Now, obviously, this is the wrong number. Mm-hmm. But there are two possibilities that are interesting. One, she meant to say room 1046, but was just confused or just made a mistake.
Oh, yeah, happens all the time.
Or she was there to meet someone in room 1026 that had something to do with what happened in 1046.
Right, okay. That could make sense.
And we're going to talk about the female element of this because, well, like we said, there was a female voice heard. Interesting stuff. So several sketches of the stranger's body had been posted up around town, but no one seemed to really recognize him. So authorities finally put the actual body on display so that people could, get a good look. And this proved more fruitful.
Oh, well, okay. You know what? Pop off.
Yeah, people started to come forward saying they knew who this guy was. So one person who came forward was a local wrestling promoter.
Oh.
The promoter said the stranger had approached him for work in the ring and that the man's real name was actually Cecil Warner.
Okay.
Or at least that's the name that the stranger gave to him.
And he was trying to be a wrestler?
That's what this guy claims. He claims that this guy came to him saying, hey, my name's Cecil Warner. I'm a wrestler. I'd like work. So who knows? That probably was a fake name too. I would assume if he gave fake names to every hotel, probably also. But interesting because it leads itself to that whole theory. If he was a boxer, maybe he wouldn't hold up his end of the bargain. Or if a wrestler, same thing. Maybe he refused to, take the pin or whatever. Who knows? So you think with that blast of info and a name, Cecil Warner, you'd think you'd have some breakthroughs, but nothing came of it.
Yeah.
See, even if this stranger had been the man who approached him about work, if the name he gave him was fake, well, then it ends there.
It's just that's it.
So even if it was the guy, if he gave him a fake name, where are we going from there? It might tell us that he's a wrestler, but it doesn't tell us anything else.
Yeah, these are the times when you could just give a fake name and then that's just kind of it and you can just disappear.
The city had begun making preparations for the guy's funeral since no leads came forward as to who he was and no one could claim him.
Right.
But then a call came in to the police from a person who remained anonymous. And while this person wouldn't reveal their identity, they claimed that the dead man was their brother-in-law. and that the police were, quote, on the wrong track in terms of
God.
finding the person responsible.
Why would you say that?
Here's what's wild, though, because you would think, oh, well, this must be,
This is bullshit.
kind of like, what's his face? The Axeman New Orleans, remember he wrote the letter saying, you'll never catch me.
Well, that makes sense, but why would someone say that about their brother-in-law? Like, if they knew this, it's one thing about writing in and being like, you'll never catch me, instead of writing and then writing in and being like, you'll never find out who killed my brother-in-law. It's like, that's sad for you.
Right, exactly.
You know, or like why do you know, and like why are you?
Why do you not want to know what happened to your
or
family?
why do you know, and why don't you want anyone else to know? It's like, why are you? Once again, in this case, things just aren't really making sense, and not making sense in they're impossible, because all of these things are possible. Why would that be the case?
Exactly.
It just doesn't really line up with any sort of logic at all.
Right. Well, in addition to this mystery caller said that they were not going to bury him in Potter's Field as the city planned, that they were going to be buried somewhere else. And on top of this, the mystery caller paid for the funeral in full. They sent a wad of cash wrapped in newspaper that covered all the expenses.
Yeah, something's not right.
And that was all. Didn't give clues to who they were, but they paid for this man's funeral.
Someone felt bad about killing him or being involved in him being killed. This is classic. It's if a murderer still has some sort of feeling or admiration towards someone, there's still that part of them that they don't want them to just have a nobody's funeral. They still want that humanity.
Exactly. So this mystery man was finally laid to rest in Memorial Park Cemetery. No friends or family turned up for the funeral, but an anonymous sender did send flowers and money with a note that read,
"Love forever, Louise."
Interesting.
Well, not only were the police trying to find the identity of this dead man, they also wanted to know who this Don person was that the guy had been speaking to on the phone.
Yeah, Don fucking obsessed with breakfast over here, also probably fucking killed this man.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Don? Is it Don Draper? Is it Don Corleone?
I
Is
don't
it
know.
Donald Duck?
I'm no detective, but when you think about all the ingredients involved, it's no wonder the police were fucking confused.
Right.
Aside from the man being dead and whoever did it still being at large, what was to account for the man's strange behavior in the days before? Why so many fake names, right? Mm-hmm. It's bizarre.
Very weird.
So the case ran cold until the following year, when in 1936, a woman from Birmingham, Alabama, called the authorities claiming to know who the dead man was.
Oh, okay.
She identified herself as one Eleanor Ogletree. She said she recognized the man when she saw his photo in a magazine she was reading, and she knew instantly that it was her brother, Artemis Ogletree.
Wow.
According to Eleanor, Artemis had been missing for a while, initially disappearing in 1934. Now, as you might expect, there were a lot of strange circumstances surrounding Artemis's initial disappearance in 1934.
Okay.
Eleanor said that before he vanished, Artemis sent their mother, Ruby Ogletree, a series of bizarre letters. Not only were the contents of these letters strange, but it was strange that they were written at all, since Artemis apparently had no idea how to type.
Oh, and they were typed out?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the Watcher House, you guys.
And the tone of the letters was weird as well. In the last letter he sent to his mother, Artemis explained that he wanted to see the world and was planning to sail to Europe. Weird.
Yeah.
So
this
already
is very
2
odd.
years before, weird things are happening to this guy.
This guy, if it's all the same
If
guy,
it's the same guy,
has been acting strange for a long time.
Well, this was the last that the Ogletree family would hear directly from Artemis, was that letter saying he was going to Europe.
Yeah.
A while later, the family received a call from Memphis, Tennessee, from a man who said his name was Jordan. And he told the Ogletree family that Artemis had saved his life, that he had actually gone on to marry someone and settle down in Cairo, Egypt.
Artemis?
Yet despite an intensive search, Artemis couldn't be found in Egypt.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really weird, though, because you think, oh, well, that was just someone covering their ass. Pictures from Egypt were sent to authorities, and the resemblance of the man in the photos does look a lot like Artemis. Even that unique facial scar was there.
Oh.
So let's think about this.
Okay.
Let's chat about this. This is what I want to talk about right now.
Yeah.
So let's say if Artemis was really in Egypt, then who's this guy that died?
Right.
Or let's say this guy who died was Artemis, and that this anonymous person was just trying to throw them off the scent. Is it possible then that this Jordan guy who called the Ogletree family to say that Artemis saved his life and all this stuff, is he the Don?
Right.
That was being spoke to on the phone? Maybe he was that person that the guy was seen walking with that one witness said?
Yeah.
Or, I want to put this out there.
Okay, put it out there.
Let's say, the dead guy is Artemis, and that Jordan was actually this Don person. And that it was actually this Don person who murdered Artemis for whatever reason. So the question is then, why?
Yeah.
Think about it. Let's say this was a mob hit. The only thing they would care about is that the murder not get traced back to them.
Right.
They wouldn't give a shit about whether people thought the victim was alive or not.
Yeah, they're not going to like go through all of this trouble and like putting themselves out there. Like
Why are they going to weekend at Bernie's this shit? Like all they have to worry about is that it doesn't get traced back to them.
Yeah.
Like that's just how killings work, assassinations work, hitmen work, right?
Yeah.
You don't kill someone and then try to make everyone think they're still alive.
Yeah, I think you usually get the hell out of there.
You either kill them and make
That.
it look like an accident, or you do it so well they just can't tell who did it, right? I don't know. I've never killed anybody.
Okay.
Never killed anybody.
Not yet.
So then the next question is, what role does this mystery woman play in all this? So think about it. In this story, there are 3 instances in which a woman directly interacts with the dead man. First, it's when the other guests said they heard a woman's voice when they heard the arguing at 1 a.m. in room 10406.
Right, okay.
Second was that supposed prostitute that the elevator operator saw who was asking about the room 1026. And the third woman would be the one who sent flowers and a note that read, "Love always, Louise."
That's right, Louise.
Now, maybe this was the same woman in all 3 instances.
Right.
Maybe Louise was the woman we heard arguing in the room. Maybe she was also the prostitute. And maybe she was the one who sent the flowers. Or maybe these are 3 separate women who have nothing to do with this man's death.
Exactly. Or maybe some of them do and some of them don't.
Right.
Or,
Like,
you know, for the Louise one, I gotta say, and we've talked about this before, and we are gonna do an episode on this in the future, there are a lot of people that want to be, they're, you know, convict groupies.
right.
So this could have just been some random person. I know that this man was dead. It's not a convict. It's not the same thing.
Right.
But it could have just been someone, anywhere ranging from she was, you know, like felt emotionally connected,
Right.
quote unquote, to this man, so she sent this. Anywhere from someone felt bad that this
Right.
man died, you know, anonymous, and they just wanted to send something. You know what I mean? That
Exactly.
it doesn't mean that this was like some lover that knew all the details and, you know,
Right.
is on the run from the law. It just doesn't really mean anything
Yeah.
at this point.
The woman, I can't tell if like we said, does she have nothing to do with this? I mean, or all 3 of those, are they completely unrelated?
Right. I mean, the woman that's outside too, like it could be connected possibly, but
Right.
it's much more likely that she was just someone else.
Exactly.
All of these, it's really the only time that's concrete is like, or somewhat concrete, is the voice.
Exactly.
And
That's
even
true.
that isn't totally, you know,
Right.
ironclad.
That's true.
But
Because we don't even know. Maybe that was just a man. Maybe there was no woman in there, and for whatever, they just thought it sounded like a woman's
Right.
voice. Maybe for whatever reason, just for whatever reason, it sounded like a woman's
maybe it was an older boy.
Right. Who
Maybe
knows?
it was a younger man.
Well, since then, the case has gone pretty much cold, despite the occasional lead that comes in. But
Right.
most recently, in 2003, a librarian named John Horner, who was a librarian at Kansas City Public Library, he received a call from an anonymous source. And this person claimed that they had been going through and organizing the belongings of a person who had recently passed away, and that they'd come across a box containing some rather odd stuff. Inside the box was a stack of several newspaper articles that covered this mysterious death at the hotel in 1935.
Okay.
And the caller also said that inside the box was an item that's specifically mentioned in the news stories. But as to what item it was, the person wouldn't say.
Oh, I hate that. It's like, why are you doing that? Wow, what a bizarre story. And I don't even really have a theory as to
I don't either. I mean,
what happened. I almost wonder if maybe, I mean, was this some kind of mental illness? where this man was talking to himself. Some things don't add up, like the door being locked from the outside. And things like
weird
that.
things like that.
So yeah, I don't know what this is.
It's so bizarre. It's none of the clues add up.
Wow. Well, if you guys have any ideas or theories or thoughts, please reach out to us on social media or email us at creepstreetpodcast@gmail.com. Damn, but Dylan, thank you so much for doing all that research. What a cool, weird mystery.
It's a great mystery, and it's a good little appetizer before next week's episode, H.H. Holmes.
Yes, we're going back to serial killers, baby. Serial killer land.
Also, you should all know, in 2021, we're going to be doing a lot of new stuff. We want to start doing some more visual, video content. Let us know what you'd like to see and shit.
Yeah, please. We want to know what you guys are interested in and what you would like to see more of, or some completely new things.
There are no rules in 2021, so we are
right.
going buck wild this year.
This is for the Creep Streeters. This is for the Creep Street Homeowners Association. Okay, guys, we're talking about you. 2021, it's it. It's here, Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
And this is Creep Street. Good night and goodbye.